Welcome to Inner Peace, Better Health, where transformation meets the heart of human experience. Today, we have with us Tamara Andreas, a world-renowned transformational coach and co-author of Core Transformation, Reaching the Wellspring Within. Her life's work centers around helping people tap into profound spiritual states that dissolve struggle and awaken peace from the inside out. Tamara, it's so nice to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much, and I'm really honored to be here.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. So, you've said the core states are the key to genuine inner peace. For those new to your work, what exactly are core states?
Okay, yeah, thanks for asking. And so a core state is a state we could say is at a beingness level. So it's an inner well-being state such as inner peace, joy, a sense of love, a sense of oneness, presence, these kinds of states. And we call them core states when we access them through this process that I teach, core transformation. So because we access it in a special way and then we utilize it in a special way so that then it becomes a way to experience inner peace in our lives.
Hmm. Understand. When you first experienced one of these states, how did it shift your perception of life or healing?
Yeah, so when I first, boy, this was a long time ago, by the way. I've been using core transformation in my own life now for more than 30 years. And I continue to get benefits from the process. And so when I first experienced it, I'd say one of the first benefits that I got was more of a sense of feeling safe and calm and at ease on the earth.
Mm.
It's like it gave me just a more of a sense of like, okay, I'm okay, the world's okay, everything is fine. And so just more sense of peace, I could say. And yeah, so I'd say that's one of the first benefits that I got personally.
Hmm. 30 years sounds like a journey to me, and it sounds like effort to essence. And core transformation blends psychology and spirituality beautifully. How do you balance these two worlds in your approach?
So you're saying psychology and spirituality. So our sense is that the goals of psychology and the goals of spirituality are actually the same, at least for the people who are truly the very best in each field. Because, well, let's see, I don't want to go into too long of a story here, but so Connie Ray, my sister, is the developer of the core transformation process. She
Mm.
had an experience with Milton Erickson. She got to visit Milton Erickson, who was a world-renowned hypnotherapist, and she got to spend time with him. And and when she was spending time with Milton Erickson, she suddenly felt like a completely different person. And just this sense of clarity, this sense of well-being, this sense of knowing that she'll be okay, whatever happens. Um, and it was a state that you would probably call, and I would probably call a spiritual state.
Mm.
However, she got this through something that Milton Erickson did, and he talked about what he did in psychological terms, you
Mm.
know. And at the same time, people with a spiritual message, if what they're doing really works, they'll be describing people just, suffering, falling away. That's the same goal that people have when they go to psychotherapy, you know.
Mm.
And so we consider them to be basically the same. It's mostly, some of the assumptions are different. The language, the way they describe what they do is certainly different.
Mm.
However, you know, the most effective, ultimately, the most effective approaches in both of these domains end up being supportive.
Mm.
It end up being the same, I'd say.
Yes, yes. I feel like psychology and spirituality take you to the same destination, but use different ways at different points of time, I feel like. But there are people who get a bit of skeptical about spirituality at first, right? How do you allow them, how do you help them to take spirituality as a way to heal themselves?
Yeah, great question. And actually, with core transformation, they do not have to even have a spiritual goal. They can just have a goal of making a change in their life. So there's something they want to change, like could be a feeling like anger or anxiety or feeling overwhelmed or stress. It could be a thought pattern, such as being critical of themselves or other people, or having limiting beliefs like, oh, I can't learn, or nothing's ever going to turn out right, or, that kind of thing. It could be behaviors they want to change, like eating patterns, getting defensive, yelling at the kids, just pretty much anything. So they can just have a goal that you might call a psychological type of goal. However, through doing the core transformation process, it guides them in their experience to accessing a state that you and I would probably call a spiritual state. But however, they don't have to have any beliefs about it. They don't have to call it a spiritual state. It's the experience that's the important thing, and that's what they can reach.
Yes, yes. I feel like this spirituality isn't a destination, but it's a pillar that will help people to complete their purpose, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, it really bottom line is it's 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 both extraordinary and it's also actually quite ordinary because
Mm,
it's really just like Connie Ray told me after that experience that the state she was in, she said it was, really just being me, but,
mm,
just without, the kind of issues that I otherwise would have, but it was really just being me, plain old me.
mm,
And so yeah, so it can be super profound. It can be
mm.
for some people a dramatic shift. And at the same time, it's also ordinary. It's just being who we are, really.
Yes, yes. It's beautiful because at the end of the day, it's just us, but without any masks, right?
Yes, exactly.
So, Tamara, you emphasize change without struggle. That's
Yes.
such a radical idea in a world addicted to pushing and fixing.
Mm.
How does core transformation make that possible?
Thank you for asking that question. So yeah, you are so right that, most people really do think that in order to change something, they have to kind of push against it on the inside. They have to push it aside. You've probably in spiritual circles heard the term of spiritual bypass, of just kind of pushing things aside rather than really addressing them and really transforming them. And so we don't do that. And that's what makes it effective actually, is that we don't try to do that. So instead, we reach the core state first through the very part of us that has been causing a problem. So, like for example, what would you say is one kind of emotional experience that people sometimes it stops them from having a sense of inner peace? What would you say is an example of that?
Disappointment? Disappointment?
Okay, disappointment. Okay, so if somebody wants to change their disappointment, with this process, the first thing that we do is we access the inner part of us that is generating that sense of disappointment. So when I say inner part, what I mean is that, well, obviously it's not all of us that's creating the disappointment, right? Because some of us wants to change it. So it's an inner part, we could say an unconscious part, because it happens automatically, even though consciously that's not what we want to happen. And so we access this inner part of us that has been generating this disappointment. We ask the part, what do you want? And the answer that might come back is, for example, well, I want for things to be okay, or I want to be loved, or I want to, you know, um, to have a good relationship, or, whatever it might be, it could be anything. But these inner parts of us, even if they're creating an experience that we don't like, they always want something positive. And so then through the core transformation process, we don't even stop there. We find out deeper and deeper desires of this inner part. So, so like in this case, let's say this part that is generating the disappointment, what it wants is to be loved. So then we invite it to step into what this would be like, to be loved fully and completely, just the way that it wants. And we give it a little time to really do this.
Mm,
and then we ask, and when you are loved, what do you want through being loved that is even deeper yet, that is even more important or core?
mm,
And the answer that might come back, it might be, for example, oh, well, then I can just relax and feel okay,
mm,
or it might be that I can feel safe in the world, or I can feel like I really belong, or, we can't predict what the answer is going to be, but it's going
mm,
to be something, even deeper, even more wonderful, really, as we go. And then by repeating this, we get to deeper and deeper outcomes until it reaches the core state. It might be, any of these states like oneness or inner peace or, just a sense of my own essence or, whatever words they use. Sometimes they say, oh, well, I have the experience, but I have no idea what the word is for it. They might
mm,
call it a made up word like, oh, it's
mm,
isness or something. So, it's the experience that's the important thing. So we
mm,
reach the core state through the part and because this is already this part's deepest desire, so there's no resistance to it. This is what this part has been wanting all along,
mm,
And then, of course, when this inner part has this wonderful core state, such as, this sense of essence, or peace, then whatever the surface issue was, it gets transformed. It's like it doesn't need any longer to get whatever it was trying to get from somebody else isn't so important anymore because what it has is its deepest desire that's already been satisfied.
mm,
So that just transforms the whole experience and it also it also then can allow the person to experience this inner well-being state, we could say, or this core
mm,
state more as a presence in ongoing experience.
mm,
So as we do core transformation more and more, people tend to report that they have a greater and greater ongoing sense of well-being, you know,
mm,
it, even beyond the situations that they had been working with where they used to feel
mm.
disappointment or whatever.
Mm. Yes, I feel like core transformation helps people being in the present, and I feel like it is such a beautiful process of awareness, understanding where the core problem is, and taking steps for that to heal. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I think you put that very well. Thanks.
Mm. Thank you. And that shift sounds so gentle yet profound. Like healing begins the moment we stop trying so hard to heal. You've worked with people all over the world. I'm curious how different cultures respond to this kind of transformation.
Thank you for asking. And in my experience, it's just so universal because we're getting to a place that is beyond culture, it's beyond personality, it's beyond, whatever beliefs we might have had. It just gets to the core of who we are as, as a being, as a human being.
Mm,
And the bottom line is what I would say is as humans, we're all a lot more alike than we are different, and especially when we get to these deeper levels.
mm.
Yeah, so it's really it's just so universal.
Yes, yes. I feel like the core aspect of all cultures is being a true selves, right?
Mhm.
There's this universal thing about it, and it's so beautiful.
Yes, I totally agree.
Mm. And that no matter where we from, peace speaks the same language.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, it's a universal language, and even we could say we're getting even beyond language with this.
Mm.
We're
Yeah.
we're getting to an experience that, you know, that we can't even put a word to. It just is.
It's just beautiful, the idea of community beyond borders, beyond cultures. And core
Oh, absolutely.
transformation makes it a truth.
Mm. Yes,
Beautiful.
yes, absolutely. And even within the same culture, two people might think that they're very, very different on the surface
Mm,
level. However, if they are, for example, if they're guiding each other through the core transformation process, inevitably they reach a level where it's like, okay, I can relate to that, you know.
mm,
What this part of this person wants is something that I want too, you know?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's definitely a way to make deep connections with others and to recognize just our commonness, we could say, our common humanity, the universality of who we are at these deep levels.
Yes, yes, beautiful. And Tamara, lastly, for anyone listening today who feels far from that peace, how can they begin finding their way back to it?
Okay, yeah, thank you for the question. So, what I'd suggest is that they might want to explore some of our free resources. So, if they go to andreasnlp.com/free, FREE. And is that something that you can post on the video later or put in the description? Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, andreasnlp.com/free, then that can give free resources that can just kind of get you started with some of the ideas. And well, it's of course more than just ideas, but methods that we
Mm.
teach.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. All the details, the ways to connect with Tamara will be in the show notes. So do check that, listeners. And last question. I personally was wondering, truth, peace and truth have become such a difficult stuff to accept and embrace in this kind of chaotic world. So how do you help people who feel the same as I
Well,
feel?
yeah. So, well, here's something that I think everybody might want to know, and that is that no matter what you've been through, no matter what's going on in your life currently,
Mm.
there is a profound resource that you still have within that it cannot be destroyed, that is
Mm.
that is that is beautiful and free and it it's an inner well-being state, and it's just a matter of knowing how to access it. That's really all it is.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. That's such an empowering reminder that most of the problems that we see maybe are from the outside, but the answers, solutions are always from the inside, I feel like.
Yes, I would totally agree with that. And this is about, getting to that inner
Mm.
core, that inner essence. And so, I don't know, are any of your listeners also coaches or, therapists, people who guide others, or is it just people who are interested for their own personal benefit?
Yes, we do have wide range of listeners. I feel like
Mhm.
there are therapists, there are people who work in that side of sector, and also people who are figuring out themselves.
Okay.
Mhm.
Great, because building on the comment that you just made, something that coaches often like about this approach is that they don't have to try to. It's kind of like if they don't have to figure it out, they don't have to figure out the answer. The answer comes from within the person that they're guiding, their client, if you will. So it's like the difference between, knowing trying to figure out the combination to a safe, or the client just hands you the key and you can open it, right? Because the answers really do come from within the client.
True, true. Because the problem is of the client, so answer will be from the client. And I believe that the best answers of any questions are the answers that we give to ourselves. It's that external support is something that will help us, that will guide us to the answer, but we must be the ones that will hold it, that will find it. I feel like.
That's absolutely correct. I totally agree with that. And then, of course, that can be sometimes easier said than done, right?
Yes, yes.
And so what's helpful with the core transformation process is that it gives a simple, reliable, step-by-step process so that, like when I'm teaching people how to do this, they don't have to try to memorize anything. They have it all written down so that then
Mm,
they can guide somebody else. And
mm,
and our research actually shows that people who learn to do this can get great results. So it's not just me, it has nothing to do with me really. It's the process itself that anybody can learn and get really great results with.
Beautiful, amazing, amazing, Tamara. It was a wonderful, insightful conversation that we had, and hope our listeners feel the same. Thank you very much.
Well, you're so welcome. And thank you so much for the invitation. And I really appreciate the work that you're doing in the world. For sure, the world needs more inner peace. So
Yes.
I'm glad you're there to bring this kind of message to the
Yes.
world.
It's nice to have people like you on the show. It's our pleasure, honestly.
Thank you so much.
Mm. T- Tamara Andreas reminds us that true transformation doesn't come from force, it flows from connection. When we touch our core states, we don't just heal, we return home to who we truly are. If her words resonated, take a quiet moment tonight to listen inward. Your wellspring of peace is waiting. Thank you, listeners. This has been your host, Charu, and the show was Inner Peace, Better Health, where peace is power and overthinking's overrated.